So my people, it's been a couple of days since we made a video, 10 to be exact. I don't think I'll be going this longer without making a video again. So I just came from the gym and I saw something kind of disturbing inside the gym locker room. I mean, I'm finishing up with my workout and then suddenly, a guy comes into the locker room, maybe 5 feet away from me. He strips naked right there in front of my face. I mean, damn. Man, ass cheeks was like maybe 5 feet away from my face. No discretion. Kind of made me feel uncomfortable though. But another brother walked inside the gym room and he made a statement. I've listened to this cliche statement my entire life. I said, "What's up, bruh?" He say, "Oh, just taking it one day at a time." And then, when he said it, for the first time in my life, I just thought about what he said, taking it one day at a time. He said his grandfather told him that. And that's what he does, take it one day at a time. And, I don't know if I've ever said, taking it one day at a time, but I heard a lot of people saying it, but I had to think about it, right? One day at a time. I don't know if black people, I don't know if we can afford to take one day at a time. At least not my people. We can. We got to be thinking a couple months. We got to take a month at a time. A couple years. We thinking well ahead of everyone else. Got to be like the Chinese, man. They said that the Chinese, when they sit down and they strategize, they're thinking 100 years ahead. Anyway, we're going to get into a couple news stories, and the stuff I'm about to elaborate on is days old. Like I said, I haven't made a video in 10 days. So some of this information is old, but if you don't follow the developments, then it'll be new to you. So we're going to start with information coming up out of the Middle East. And we're going to start with, of course, Iran and Israel. I'm going to read off some of my notes. And, a couple days ago, Iran launched its anticipated attack against Israel in response to all of the aggressions and transgressions that the Israeli regime has been engaged in within the last year, culminating with the death of Hassan Nasrallah over in Yemen, and with the various assassinations of Hamas leaders, Hezbollah leaders, Iraqi resistance fighter leaders, and the massacre in Gaza, now the new massacre that's being carried out in Yemen, southern Yemen in particular. But we're going to get into what they say that Iran may have tested an underground nuclear weapon 2 or 3 days ago. So let's get into it. Iran thought to have detonated a nuclear bomb. It is believed that Iran carried out its first underground nuclear weapons test. A 4.5 magnitude earthquake registered on the seismic scale. 4.5 registered. In 2019, a Washington-based think tank, FDD, that's the acronym, FDD, but this particular think tank is the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, FDD. I mean, they just throw that word democracy around and it doesn't even apply to the West. But yeah, so it was a study conducted by this particular think tank in 2019, and this is what it says that it found out. It said the project had identified 5 potential test locations within Iran and was developing approaches including seismic and other methods to measure the explosive yield of an underground nuclear test. Using openly available corroborating geospatial information, we have identified the likely location in an area southeast of Seymani. I guess that's the name of the city, Seymani, where underground non-nuclear tests were conducted in 2003 as part of developing seismic methods of measuring the yield of an underground nuclear explosion. Now, this was a study allegedly conducted by the FDD back in 2019. It's now 2024. Man, this year is flying by, isn't it? Okay. The seismic tremors of the 4.5 magnitude earthquake registered near the city of Seymani. There go that city again. Seymani, Iran, and was felt as far away as Tehran, which is the country's capital. So this think tank organization conducted a study 5 years ago identifying 5 locations where a possible underground nuclear test could be conducted. Now, I've watched a couple of programs and a couple of reports coming from the various news sources that I like to get my information from. And again, Iran is prone to earthquakes. There hasn't been any reported damage of any kind reported in Iran as a result of this 4.5 magnitude earthquake. It did register on the seismic scales, however. So let's keep going. Iran categorically denies conducting an underground nuclear test and maintains that its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes and geared towards civilian use. So, if I'm Iran and I have all these sanctions against me, always living up under the threat of, American Israeli attacks, military attacks conducted inside of my country, scientists being targeted for strategic assassinations, I'm going to categorically deny that I conducted a nuclear test also. And I'm inside the library, so it's going to be, you're going to hear a lot of noise in the background. I'm on the first floor, so it's not too far from where the kids sit. So you're going to hear a lot of stuff inside this library, right? A lot of background noise. So, again, Iran denies claim. They did not claim that they conducted any kind of nuclear test. I would do the same thing if I'm Iran, correct? And I think that a lot of other people would also do the same thing. But this follows on the heel of an Iranian response to attacks, a missile attack that Iran carried out against Israel. And the world right now braces for the Israeli response, which the Israeli, Gallant, I guess he's one of their defense ministers or the defense minister, he says that their response is going to be bloody, vicious, and precise. So, if Iran did detonate an underground nuclear device, an explosive, a test, then this could be a way of trying to, telling Israel that, look, we have nuclear weapons. If you attack and destroy our infrastructure en masse, we have options on the table whereby we could possibly use these nuclear weapons. So you can kind of sort of say it's a deterrence mechanism, but hey, again, we're dealing with Israel and they have no reverse gear. So anyway, the world braces for an Israeli counterstrike in response to Iran's second direct attack on Israel on October the 1st, 2024. That's when, Iran launched these missiles over into Israel. Okay, sources say that Iran fired between 180 and 200 ballistic missiles, or cruise missiles. Fired, 180, 200 cruise missiles, according to an Al Jazeera report. the IRGC, which is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, specifically targeted military bases near the city of Tel Aviv. And for the first time, they said that Iran used its Fatah hypersonic missile. So that's very big right there. I mean, you know, Iran was already known to possess hypersonic missiles, but for the first time in combat, actual combat operation, they used the Fatah, the hypersonic. So the Iron Dome, the David Sling, and all the rest of the Israeli air defenses, and you know, American air defenses in the area were totally incapable of intercepting this hypersonic missile that was able to get through and hit its target. Okay, so let's move on with the business. It is believed that one of the military bases targeted in the Iranian attack housed a prize F-35 stealth fighter, an aircraft supplied to the Israelis by the American MIC, which is the which is the military-industrial complex. It is believed that some of the F-35 aircraft were either severely damaged and or destroyed. Israel denies this assertion and counters by saying that 90% of the missiles fired by Iran were shot down by the coordinated efforts of the IDF and its U.S. ally. There have also been claims made that Jordan, again, we're talking about Jordan again, an Arab nation, once again aided the Israelis in intercepting Iranian missiles. Now, if this is true, if Jordan, once again, now remember, Jordan is an ally of the United States and houses a United States military base on its soil. So if they, again, with all of the things that are going on in the Middle East concerning the genocide of the Arabs, and now, you know, you have a genocide of the people up in southern Lebanon, then at some point, Jordan and his government is going to have to be punished militarily, because there is a counter war to the war that's being launched by the aggressor regime of Israel. Iran and all of the rest of the groups over there that fall on the side of right, I'm saying that, you know, Israel represents an existential threat to everyone within that particular region. And we can clearly see that Palestinians and other peoples are falling victims to, you know, bombs launched from IDF aircraft, artillery, and, you know, U.S. warships. You know, U.S. warships hitting the Houthis over in Yemen. They're hitting the resistance groups in Iraq. For Jordan to be an Arab country and to continue to lend support to Israel, which is a terrorist regime, the terrorist arm of the United States in the Middle East, then at some point, the entire Arab world is going to have to come together, make a decision, and punish not only Jordan, but any other country or group in that particular region that's lending, you know, tacit or overt support to the Israeli regime. We gotta get serious about this stuff, man. I mean, these traitors that are amongst us, and when I say amongst us, I'm talking about the blacks also. We gotta get serious about dealing with these people, because our very existence is on the line. So let's move on. Okay, so day before yesterday, there were high-level talks conducted between the Saudi government and the Iranian government in anticipation for the Israeli response. So this report right here was given to us by Reuters, which is a news organization, reputable news organization. Okay, so let me move back up. So the IDF says that 90% of the missiles fired into Israel were shot down. The Iranians, on the other hand, say that 90% of the missiles got through. I don't know. I wasn't on the ground, and who am I? They don't share their intelligence information and reports with me, so we'll just have to see. But we're going to move down to this meeting that happened between Iran and Saudi Arabia. High-level talks between some of their diplomats. Saudi Arabia, and this particular report right here, before I get to the Reuters report, this particular report right here was given to us by Times of India. That's another news source that I use when I compile my information and then decide to put it in one of my videos. But this is the Times of India. Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar are refusing to let Israel fly over their airspace against Iran. Notice they did not mention Jordan. So we have three countries, three powerful countries, Saudi Arabia, which is a part of BRICS, the UAE, and Qatar, who are involved in trying to negotiate some of the peace outcomes in the Middle East. These particular countries are, I don't know if they're doing covertly, but overtly they're saying that they're not going to allow Israel to use its airspace in order to launch an attack against Iran. So they've also urged the U.S. to pressure Israel not to strike Iranian oil facilities. Now, Joe Biden and the United States administration has said that they are not in agreement with Israel going after Iranian nuclear sites. But, Israel also wants to carry out attacks against Iranian oil facilities also. So, if that's the case, then the price of oil is going to skyrocket. And like some people have said, we could find ourselves at 50s. I don't know what the price is now, but we can find ourselves up to over $100 a barrel of oil. Do you know what effect it's going to have on the American economy? We're not even talking about the European economy. Because Europe is already in a crisis economically, with the sanctions that they launched against Russia and all that stuff. Over, almost 20,000 sanctions, and Germany being deindustrialized, and some of the other countries over there, France, their economies are taking a hit behind the war in Ukraine. So anyway, they've urged the U.S., and when I say they, I'm talking about Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar, urged the U.S. to put pressure on Israel not to strike Iranian oil facilities, fearing that an escalation in the war could see their own facilities struck. According to a news article published by Reuters, high-level meetings were held between Saudi and Iranian officials, where the latter party, Iran, stated that it could not guarantee the safety of the kingdom's oil facilities if Israel were given any assistance in carrying out an attack. An Iranian diplomat said that its allies in Iraq and Yemen might respond if there was any backing for Israel. So again, Iran played. They played a good hand. A couple of days ago, there was a report that came out that said Iran is embracing Saudi Arabia as a brother nation. Now, I truly believe that Saudi Arabia wants to mend its relations with Iran, as well as other Arab nations in the region want to, develop closer ties with Iran, because we're going in a whole different direction now with the emergence of BRICS and multipolarism, the global south rallying behind Russia, Iran, China, North Korea. So we're going in a whole different direction. But bear in mind that Saudi Arabia has been a staunch ally of the United States for the last 50, 60 years. So they still have a strategic interest in maintaining, good relations with the United States in particular, but the West in general also. And Saudi Arabia also houses a United States military base. So their arms are kind of being twisted a little bit. But according to some of the stories that are coming out, Saudi Arabia is emphatic that it would not allow for Israel to fly over its airspace. Again, we'll see. The slaughter continues in Gaza, and the slaughter continues in southern Lebanon. Hezbollah, so far, it was questionable as to how effective Hezbollah was going to be after the assassination of some of its strategic leadership. But from what I'm seeing and what's being reported, Hezbollah at present, currently, is still a cohesive organization that's able to launch, a coordinated political and military campaign against Israel. So up until this point, Hezbollah has not fallen apart. It's still able to function cohesively, and it is still able to, for the most part, maintain its dominance over the region over in southern Lebanon. Now, they're taking hits. Right now, I think that the IDF is bogged down. They tried to penetrate over into Lebanon, but they've been bogged down. So the IDF, in their ground operation hasn't been as effective as what they would have liked to have been. Going over into southern Lebanon, they're losing manpower. Again, Israel is like Ukraine. They are not as transparent as to their losses, casualties, and surely not the deaths. But Israel is also losing material. They're losing a lot of tanks. Hamas took out a lot of their tanks. Hezbollah is taking out even more tanks, and Hezbollah is better trained, and they have better equipment, and they have better intelligence. So they're more capable of not only defending against an IDF ground operation, but they have better equipment in order to take out some of the IDF's strategic infrastructure on the ground. Now, they don't have an air force, of course. They do have SAMs, I believe. We know that they have drones. So currently, the Israeli Defense Force is bogged down in southern Lebanon, the little piece that has been able to grab, but they haven't been as effective as what they would have liked to have been. Now remember, we're just only a couple weeks into the ground out, maybe a week or two. So who knows? Everything could change tomorrow. But as it stands right now, Hezbollah is still handling its business, and it is still fighting and conducting a proper defense against the invasion. Now let's move over to, the biggest war that's being fought right now in the world, which is the war in Ukraine. And there was a battle over off in the Krusk region. Again, I don't know what the Ukrainian government was thinking, but there was a battle over there, an epic battle. I mean, this is one of the most epic battles of modern warfare, armored modern warfare that we have seen this century. Okay, so it happened in the Glachkovo area. A small Russian force decimated an entire Ukrainian armored column. That's the headline. Okay, so two Russian BTR A2A vehicles attacked and annihilated 15 of 19 NATO supplied armored vehicles. The BTRs were from Russia's 810th, I think, yeah, they was from Russia's 810th Armored Brigade. Now, apparently what happened is that they were able to put themselves in a position where they could ambush a column of NATO armored vehicles that was wherever they was going. But it was off inside the Krusk region. And these two BTRs ambushed and destroyed 15 of the 19 armored vehicles that were NATO supplied and operated. And as the battle went on, 4 of the vehicles escaped, but Russia called in air power, and the air power and the drones finished off the rest. But these BTR A2As, I mean, can you imagine that they were in a position to ambush? First of all, they were in a position to even track the column itself, which speaks volumes of the air superiority of Russian UAVs and satellites and reconnaissance aircraft, things of that nature, right? Traveling in a column. And also it shows the weakness of Ukrainian reconnaissance UAVs and all that. But let's get back to this battle right here. So you have 2 armored carriers, 2 armored vehicles, and they didn't attack at the same time. It was one was covered by, was camouflaged and within the area, but it didn't engage with the first A2A vehicle. So they attacked this column, and they're in a position to whereas they can totally dominate the battle because the Ukrainians were taken by surprise. They were taken by complete surprise. And 15 of the 19 armored personnel carriers or NATO supplied vehicles were completely destroyed in this battle. Are you listening to this? I mean, we haven't seen anything like this since the last Iraqi war. 2 vehicles were able to take on 19 vehicles, engage them, attack them, came out on top. So we got in a day's time. That battle alone, the Ukrainians lost 400 soldiers. But across the battlefront, we have 2,325 soldiers killed, not wounded, killed in a day on multiple fronts. But within this particular battle here, we have 25 traditional artillery units, 5 self-propelled guns destroyed, 30 artillery units in total, 55 UAVs, and 1 tank. We'll move down to the Bakhmut area, which, we all remember the Battle of Bakhmut, one of the bloodiest in the history of warfare, period. And Bakhmut alone, I didn't even know that they still was battling around Bakhmut like this, because we're really not getting a lot of information about Bakhmut, because, with the battlefront lines shifting and, the reporting of one battle might take precedence over another. In Bakhmut alone, they lost 775 Ukrainian soldiers killed, not wounded. 775. That's in one day. So when you have those type of losses of man and material, you cannot sustain losses of that kind. You can't sustain them. At some point, Ukraine is going to have to make a terrible decision. They're going to have to decide whether they're going to bend the knee or to continue fighting, because you just cannot sustain these type of losses. I mean, for 2,325 soldiers to be killed in a day since the invasion of Russia in the Krusk area, it is said that Ukraine has lost over 23,000 soldiers, that they have lost 140 tanks, countless artillery pieces. HIMARS are proven to be ineffective. UAVs being shot down at will, electronic jamming, they've been targeted by the Russians. Ukraine is being bled. They're bleeding bad. They're bleeding bad. But the West wants them to fight on. We've had a new Secretary General to take over NATO. Mr. Stoltenberg is out. I don't know too much about the new guy. I'm gonna have to do some more research on him, but his position is the same, that Ukraine must fight on, that Russia must be strategically defeated. If Russia is allowed to win the war, then Putin will be attacking the Baltics and the rest of Europe after that, which is totally not true. But we have a new NATO leader that's pulling plays out of the same old playbook. While Ukraine is being bled to death, we've got the cowards inside the United States, the Justice Department, the State Department, the Defense Department, the military-industrial complex. They go to sleep every night. Their children are safe for now. But it's going to be pretty interesting over the next couple of weeks, how it's going to play out in Ukraine. I'm thinking that Russia is moving in for the final blow against Ukraine, because you can't sustain these kind of losses. I mean, you just can't. You're losing 1,000, 1,500 men a day. You can't sustain those kind of losses. No army can. I don't care how big the army is. It could be the North Korean army, which is one of the largest, if not the largest army in the world. It could be the Chinese army. You cannot sustain those type of losses over a period of time. And it seems to me that in certain areas, the death toll amongst the Ukrainian army is going upwards. So we'll see. So those are the reports that I just wanted to. And like I said, this, the information I'm reporting today is old news. I haven't made a video in quite some time. As far as on the home front, I mean, in America, the biggest thing we can talk about in the black community is this. They're still talking about Sean Puffy Combs, and what is the other? Charleston White. I mean, I think he's making ripples again. Charleston White going against the snitch Woody. So those are the most important topics, events that are coming out of the, out of the black media across the board. I mean, it's very sad how mundane black America has really become. I mean, it's really pitiful and pathetic that you have all these platforms out here, and the most important thing you could talk about is Charleston White and P. Diddy. That's the biggest thing you could talk about. Not about the failure of the black community to raise its children. Not about the poor education in the black community. You can't talk about none of that, right? The most important thing you could talk about is Charleston White and Puff Daddy. Well, very, very sad. But anyway, I think I'm gonna end this video right now. Like I said, I just wanted to touch bases and come in and make a video real quick because I hadn't made one in a couple of days. So we're gonna be back more with some more important stuff. For my people out there, remember, we got to stay staunch no matter what happens, no matter how the government comes at us, no matter what they throw at us, the agent provocateurs that they surround us with. We're going to stay staunch, we're going to remain staunch, and we're going to stay on the trajectory that we are on. We're not going to let nothing stop us. We're not going to let no one divert us, none of that. Because, in the last couple of days, I had some issues with this government over here, but it's nothing that I can't handle. I've been handling this stuff for a very long time right now. And again, they use the same playbook. They don't have nothing new out of their playbook. They're using the same tactics that they've been using for years, and at this point they're so ineffective that they don't even warrant comment. But for others out there who can't deal with it, then just let me tell you, you're stronger than what you think, right? Well, yeah, for my people out there, man, we're not gonna be deterred from doing what we're trying to do. We're not gonna go off course. Any of that. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep studying. Keep getting your body strong. Stay away from the weak people because they're all around you. Yeah, stay away from the weak people, man. And check out Damian Porter over at the Inside Story. He's telling some more good stories. But on that note, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna end this video. I'm gonna get it uploaded, and we're gonna be touching back bases real soon.